good afternoon, good night. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Today we are going to have a serious conversation. Well, maybe not a serious conversation, but there's going to be a serious talk happening here. Now, of course, I'm only doing the talking, but just stay tuned. I can't seem to help. It's like you cast a spell. I'll keep loving you. You don't love me too. But I won't cry. I'll just sing a lullaby. You moved on already. I know I gotta stay strong. You said that you'd love me forever, but I guess that's gone. And I can't seem to hide all this pain that I feel inside. But that's okay, I'll just sing a lullaby. Listen, I can't seem to help. No, oh, it's like you cast a spell. Can't believe we're through. You win and you lose. But I won't cry, I'll just sing a lullaby. Listen. You moved on already, and I know I gotta stay strong. You said that you love me forever, but I guess that's gone. And I can't seem to hide all this pain that I feel inside. But that's okay, I'll sing a lullaby. Hey, what's up, y'all? I got a really good one for you. Now, I don't know how well I'm going to read this, but if I read it just right, I have a feeling this could be one of those podcast episodes that bring me over the top. Bring me over the top of what you say? Everything. Oh, that's such a silly thing to say. Anyway, let me just find where I've lost my spot. How you doing? I hope you're good. I'm good. Thank you for coming out. My name is MCM, and I really appreciate you hanging out with me. I'm gonna get right into it because my last couple episodes, they turned into two. Part one and part two. I was gonna say part one and part B. Same thing. I should have actually done it that way because I'm a clown like that. But I don't want to waste a lot of time today. And I've already wasted 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Well, not really. That's the intro and the beginning of this thing. So here we go. Ever felt electric something or that electric something between you and someone else? Even though you say it and you don't say it outright. In episode 205 of You're Probably Right, we're diving into that very feeling, that unspoken game of attraction. Today, we'll break down the subtle ways people test potential connection, how small interactions shift from casual to meaningful, and blurred lines between playful interactions and something become something deeper along the way. We'll talk about reading social cues, being emotionally aware, and figuring out if chemistry or the chemistry that you sense is real or just in your head. It's in your head. No, wait, I'm just joking. Hi, I am your solo host, as usual, MCM, and this is You're Probably Right. Now remember, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. That's it. You might find some truth in here. You might find something that's total, absolute, utter nonsense. But I try to give you the good stuff at the same time, people. You know I do. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. Remember, I am not a professing professor of anything except for the fact that I am a Christian. And today I'm just talking about subtle signs, quiet signs, body language, stuff like that just happen between humans. But I just got to say what I got to say anyhow. And I'm excited to get into this topic. I think this is a good one, and I don't think you're going to find very many episodes at anybody's podcast like this one. So hopefully you like it. Have you ever caught eyes with someone and just knew that there was something or some vibe there? Maybe it's a friend you've known for ages or someone you just met at a party, but something unspoken happens and there's some kind of a crackling in the air between you two. Sometimes other people notice it, sometimes they don't, but you certainly will. Why do we sometimes feel that wordless connection? And more importantly, how can two people know there's something there without saying a thing? And it's kind of funny, when you feel it, because it doesn't happen. Like, some people can say that it happens all the time, and maybe because they're gregarious and outgoing, they have this all the time. But people who tend to be more introverted and more quiet with their feelings and stuff like that don't have it that often. And when you have it as a person who is an introvert like me, it's way different. It's probably a lot more intense because people who are constantly connecting with people and talking with random people and into people or dating a lot, I think the more you date and the more you talk to a lot of different people, especially when we're talking about adults and thinking about dating and stuff like that, I think the more you do, like everything else, the more you do anything, the less sensitive you are. It's kind of like public speaking, right? The more you public speak, the less and less it bothers you. You might still get a little anxious, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. Of course, there'll be situations will be, outliers, of course, but the more you do anything, it's the less you become desensitized. And that's why it's best not to have too much connection. You can figure out what that means. Okay. Stick around because this episode is all about those hidden clues and gut feelings. And hey, if you find yourself nodding along, or even second guessing a recent encounter, you're definitely not alone. By the end of this chat, you might just recognize what that flutter in your stomach is, the real deal. Is it part of the game, or are you just flirting around, or what's happening? First thing, subtle test. Do they feel it too? That's what you don't know. You know how you feel, but you have no clue most of the time how someone else feels. You might even think you know, but trust me, you might not be right. Why do we tease the people we actually like? Why does a simple "let's hang out sometime" carry so much more weight when it's said with a smile or an extra smile? Is this the first? Okay, in this first segment, we're talking about the subtle tests people use to figure out if someone's interested without coming right out and saying it. I like you. Most people would like to hear, but you're not going to really hear it. It's all a part of the unspoken game. Gentle, almost undetectable ways of asking, are you feeling this too? Think about it. When you're drawn to someone, you might not want to put your heart right on the line there because you don't know how they feel about you, right? Instead, you send out little feelers to see if they respond. Now, you might not have time. It depends where you are. I mean, if you're in Miami, you've seen the most beautiful woman in your life and you're leaving tomorrow, you might be more, motivated to get something crack-a-lacking. And I'm not talking about in any kind of perverted way. It's just like, hey man, if there's a connection, I need to know if I'm going to be a pen pal with you or whatever the case is before, or long distance, whatever it is, before I leave. So I don't have till next week, So it can depend. A lot of the stuff is, can depend. But then there are those situations where everything kind of aligns and everything is straight up and you're in the same city. Maybe you work at the same school or you go to the same school or maybe you work at the same office, or you work at the same shop, store, wherever you are, same office. Here are a few common subtle tests we tend to use when there is potential chemistry. Now, I said potential, remember that. Playful teasing. A little joke, insults, poke fun at them. Nothing mean, just lighthearted banter. If they laugh and tease you back, it's a great sign. Why do this, you might say? Because humor is safe. People teasing you, like kids basically. You're saying, hey, I'm comfortable with you, and checking in to see if you are comfortable with me and you want to play along. Ever notice how two people who like each other often have those silly inside jokes? It's no accident. It's a low key. I'm looking at the K and key, saying K. It's messed up. Low key way to bond. I think I have this thing called dysgraphia, yo. So it happens when I even read my own writing. And worse, if I've actually written this like I did yesterday, and now come back to, well, doesn't matter how long. If I've written this thing yesterday or 2 weeks ago or 2 days ago, it's like I'm reading it for the first time. So I tend to screw up a lot. But yeah, just wanted to say that. Sorry for the bad reading. Okay, frequent little check-ins. Maybe they send a meme, or maybe they pass your office or pass your store in the mall, or whatever it is. Maybe they just pass your location, your work location often, right? Or maybe they had no choice but to pass your location or come to your spot, and then all of a sudden when you connect with them, you feel something, but all of a sudden they don't come as often. You know what I mean? I saw this and thought of you. Text, you know what I mean? When they, these casual pings, are a way of staying on someone's radar. So sometimes they'll just send you, like a little meme or maybe a little TikTok, and if you reply and say, oh, that's cool, that's funny, you try to get the conversation going or whatever it is. No one's going to say right off the bat, hey, I miss you outright. But sending little random funny TikToks is basically the same thing in disguise in many cases. Compliments with a twist. Okay. Compliments with a twist. Now, not the obvious, you're hot. That might be a little bit too direct. Again, are you in for the, do you live in the city? Or are you here for the week? Right? But something like, I love how you always know the best coffee places, or maybe you have a great taste in music. I add that song to my list, my playlist, or whatever it is. These are personal compliments that show they're paying attention to you. Maybe, I like your hair today, or I like your clothes or your shoes, or that's a fancy coat or something. They'll try to say something that will give you compliments, right? Could be anything. Out of the blue, I love your handwriting. And nobody's ever commented on your handwriting ever before. Or, oh, you have strong arms, or your arm, just little things that even most of the time you won't hear, because sometimes they might be a little bit slightly personal for the average person to say if they have no attraction to you. But when they do, you'll hear these types of things, If you fire back with your own compliment, here and there, maybe not at the exact same time, but if you do, and you start firing back, or they start firing back compliments, then, there might be something there. Physical proximity, big one. Physical proximity and light touch, of course. This one is, of course, classic. Sitting just a tad closer than necessary, knees almost touching, maybe even touching, or just a slight bump here and there, or giving a playful shove on the arm, or when people block your way, people who you're feeling some type of vibe with them. And not only that, it's almost like you're a couple magnets. So you'll find that maybe you're going in a certain direction and there's a huge space, but somehow you bump into the person, literally bump into the person. Like, when people say, hey, I bumped into Johnny, it's like they might have actually bumped right into Johnny. They're not exactly making a move, but They're seeing if you're welcoming them in your personal space. If you find that neither of you tends to pull away when you got really close, and everybody knows what their personal space, their comfortability in their bubble. I know that in that what do you call it? That exercise where people step forward right in the person's face, and we all know that each of us have different levels of comfortability. Well, you'll let this person break into that zone, your personal bubble, and you'll stay there, even if you're not that comfortable, because that's just who you are. Even if you would normally your body would like freak out after 3 seconds, with this person, you might wait just a little bit longer, right? But of course, if that person doesn't know you that well, then they won't even figure it out. So don't worry. Basically, just saying, yeah, I like to be close to you too. Questioning future plans softly. They might casually ask, so what are your plans this weekend? Or have you been down to that art exhibit, at the ROM downtown? Or, they're just fishing for an opportunity to hang out with you. So they're just throwing these things out. Or have you ever been to this store? Or what do you think of that place, Cold Stone? You know what I mean? Like just trying to see if you're going to say, hey, I don't know, it's pretty good. You want to go? Or I've never been there. You want to go? And that's another test. And you might have passed it if they if they suggest something. That's always cool. These little behaviors are usually unconscious or semi-conscious. We all do them to a certain extent when we feel a spark between someone, but aren't ready to lay out the cards, It's like a dance where one person takes a small step and waits for the other person to step too. For example, you might drop a playful comment like, oh, I bet you say that to all the girls, or hey, I bet you say that to all the guys. Just to see if they say, no, just you. That's a slip, but it might happen. Or they just shyly smile and don't say anything at all. A lot of the time when you call people out on their stuff, they don't have anything to say, and they might even almost ignore what you said because they don't literally know. Literally, we love saying that, eh? They might not know what to say to it, so they just let it be because they're trying not to let you catch them. They don't want to be caught because they don't know how you feel yet. That's pretty much what it is. If they knew how you feel, then they'd probably answer you. But because they're in that zone where they don't know what's going on, they, sometimes they run and hide. That's always funny. You say something really poignant or really a telltale, like they won't have any sign but embarrassment or to give up their tell. You'll see people run around a corner sometimes. So pay attention the next time you're around someone you might like or suspect that they like you. Are they throwing little tests your way? Are you possibly throwing out some hints yourself without even realizing it? This is a part of the unspoken game, a quiet, quick back and forth, to gauge interest. It's thrilling, a bit nerve-wracking for some, for most, and it sets the stage for a deeper connection. Now, assuming a few things, right? There's been a few little subtle tests of, and positive response. What happens next? All right. And that brings us to the casual to meaningful. When small talk gets big. No, it just gets real. All right. So you've passed the little test with flying colors. You laugh at their jokes, text back with equal enthusiasm, maybe even found yourself inventing excuses to see them or pass by their office or their shop or whatever it is, their classroom. You guys are on lunch at the same time and you have gym in opposite sides of the building, but for some reason one person happens by. Suddenly those once casual interactions start to feel a bit different. But how exactly do you shift from light to casual vibes? The vibes get a little bit more meaningful out of the blue. Nobody knows how it happens, but it just happens. Picture this. You used to chat with this person about, say, the latest Netflix show or the weather. It was friendly and surface level, But now the same conversation somehow drifts into talking about your childhood memories or your big dreams for the future. You catch yourself sharing stories and opinions that you don't normally share with anyone. When did this happen? How did 5-minute chit chat turn into 2-hour heart to heart? Because you had the time to do it. This shift often happens gradually and subtly. Here are a few signs that your interactions are deepening beyond the casual. Longer conversation. Okay. What was meant to be a quick check-in? How's your day going? Or how are you feeling now? You missed work, or you missed school, or whatever. You missed your shift. Turns into an evening light long text marathon, or the phone call that you had, just a little check-in at 8 turns into your way past midnight. When you both lose track of time talking to each other, it's a sign that there is a connection that goes beyond politeness. More personal topics. That's the next one. The conversation topics start getting a bit more intimate. Instead of just discussing work classes or whatever, you're confiding in, them about your family or insecurities or that weird dream you had last night. You might notice, wow, I can't believe I'm telling this to this person. I usually never talk about this stuff. That comfort and trust is actually very, very huge. Remembering the details. They remember little things you've mentioned, where you're going, what you've done, or what you're planning on buying, or a doctor's appointment, or whatever it is. They're remembering things, maybe your dog's name, or maybe your order at Starbucks. The fact that you hate Mondays because it's your busiest day and you remember just as many little details about them. When two people start mentally archiving each other's likes and dislikes and anecdotes, it indicates you might matter a little bit to each other. There's nothing quite as heart fluttering as when someone brings up a small detail you mentioned in passing weeks ago. It shows that they are truly listening, and many times it can be really shocking that this person actually remembered this little small insignificant detail about you or your life. Then there is inside jokes and unique communication. You develop a language of your own. Maybe it's a particular GIF you both always use, a meme or something, a traditionally every Friday thing you send this person or something, or maybe a shared nickname for your difficult boss, or these small quirks in how you communicate are signs that there is a growing bond. It's not just casual anymore. You have your own thing now. That's different. Priority shifts. Here's a big one. You or they prioritize each other. Perhaps you notice they invite you to events more than other people, or you catch yourself arranging or rearranging your life just a little bit with your schedule just so that you can fit them in perfectly. It might be subtle, but like choosing to grab lunch when you see them, or that you want to grab lunch with them. So you reschedule with someone else so you can hang out with them. It gives you priority, of course, right? But it shows that time together is becoming important and not just incidental. Like, hey, you happen to be in the lunchroom. Okay, let's see. Okay. Let me share another little story. I had a coworker, let's call her Alex, who I used to only talk to during group lunches. We were just friends, casual hellos, but after we collaborated on a project and a lot of late hours and pizza nights, something shifted. One evening, we were cleaning up. I mentioned a childhood hobby of mine, collecting comic books. Kind of nerdy, I know. I hadn't talked about that in ages. To my surprise, Alex lit up and said, hey. Well, she used to do the same thing. Anyway, that kicked off a 2-hour conversation about our favorite superheroes, and of course me saying why Hulk is better than Spider-Man. And, we start talking about our families, our career dreams, way beyond the usual, how was your weekend? After that night, our dynamic totally shifted. Sometimes it just takes one night, 1 hour conversation, maybe just an hour conversation. Then we'd find reasons to take off to, have coffee breaks and stuff like that together. And, what started as a casual, cute, meet cute, or whatever they call it, started, all of a sudden it blossomed into a real friendship. And honestly, more than friendship, even though neither of us said it out loud at first, the interactions had clearly become meaningful. Anyway, the key point is in this segment is when you feel that shift from casual to meaningful, it often, because both people are invested more time, more intention, more of, giving your true self. A lot of the fluff kind of powders away. You save that for other people. Maybe somebody else joins the two of you and they start talking about the weather and you guys just passed, you just assume that's what the weather is. And you leave that fluffy stuff for the other people around. And, you get into this place where you value your conversations with that person more than others. Anyhow, with deeper connection comes a bit of confusion too, though. You might start wondering, is this person just naturally kind and great listener or whatever it is? Or are they especially interested in me? And that's where the difficult part is. Like, you just don't know sometimes. Are we just very good friends? Or is there a romantic spark here? It's time to tackle the blurred lines between friendly flirting and genuine attraction. Number 3, playful attraction or something deeper. So you're trading inside jokes. Maybe you're texting all day because you actually have this person's phone number. Just saying. Texting all day, and sharing secrets. You definitely feel something, but is it just friendly chemistry? Does everybody have this person's phone number? Or are you starting something like a real romance or whatever it is? Is this just a fun flirt, or are we actually falling for each other? This segment is all about the gray area, the blurred lines between playful attraction and something profound, as they say. This can be one of those, the most confusing stages, pretty much. Sorry to tell you. Yeah, the good old unspoken game. Both people clearly enjoy each other's company. There's banter, there's laughter, maybe some butterflies, but neither have the guts or have decided that it is the right time to say anything like, I like you, let's date. You might find yourself second guessing. We flirt a lot, but maybe there's just like, it's like maybe that's the way they are with everybody. We're close, but we haven't even held hands or anything, that kind of thing. So maybe it's just friendship. And, it comes with a lot of uncertainty. Sometimes you feel everything's good and then you're like, wait a second, what is going on here? Right? So let's break down where, it can be a little bit blurry. Signs that it's just a little bit more than just one thing. It's maybe it's just more than, maybe it's just, I want to say, I always just say it's more than just playful. Okay. Consistent attention, flirtiness, the signal, that generally signals deeper interest. It tends to be consistent and focused. For example, if they flirt with you in a way they don't flirt with anyone else, that's a green flag. Some people are just flirty though, by nature, with everyone. You want to notice if you're getting special or different treatment. You should anyway. Do they light up more when they, maybe when you walk into the room? Do friends ever comment and say, wow, you two are awful chatty these days? Consistency and exclusivity of attention suggests it's not just casual. There's something going on. Emotional support, starts creeping in. Beyond the jokes and the compliments, do both of you turn to each other for support, advice? Maybe one of you had a bad day, and the first person you want to talk to about it is them. Flirting banter is fun, but when it's paired with genuine care, like checking in on, how are you doing after that big thing you had to do, whatever it was that you remember or they remember, or listening when they vent or you want to vent about some family drama or something like that, it indicates a deeper emotional bond. It's moving from I enjoy flirting with you to I care about you. Now you just have to make sure that that's not just we're buds. Right? You might be in the friend zone, but maybe not. Okay, there's also protectiveness or subtle jealousy. Ooh, yeah. This one can be tricky though. But if either of you gets a little jealous, in a mild, even playful way, when the other talks to someone else, you can tell. For instance, you mentioned grabbing coffee with a new coworker or another coworker, and maybe they did it or you did it, and you notice they suddenly get quite quiet, or jokingly say, well, don't have too much fun without me, buddy. Then they're letting you know that they see you. And watch your step, because you're still on their list, or maybe you've just entered their list and you're just finding out. It's just a hint of jealousy, just a little sprinkle, just a tad bit, Salt Bae style. Not the toxic kind. Just the I wish I were the one that went with you, or I'm the one that I was hanging out with you. And you can get that feeling. Sometimes there's nothing said. As a matter of fact, it might be just a slight little conversation in the hallway of the mall, or the hallway of your workplace, or just outside of your cubicle, and you just happen to be in earshot, or they're way down the hallway but you see, or you're down the hall and they see, and you notice that they kind of linger down the hallway to see what's going on. A little subtle jealousy, a little protectiveness. They want to see, hey, what's happening over here? Then you've gone past the regular mere flirting, right? When you've actually been kind of chosen a little bit. Future talk. Do they say we a lot? Do they include you in future plans or speak hypothetically? Like, hey, we should go there. We should, maybe we should go for a hike. Or we should check out that thing. All of a sudden there's a we, Think about a future, with this person, and really get it in your mind. Like, would this be a person I would do any of that stuff with, or some of my normal stuff with? It might give you a signal that, they want to stick around a little bit. And that's why they're using those we statements to say, hey, buddy, I'm here now. So remember me in your plans, or whatever it is. Now, here's the tough one. Signs it might just be a game. You think this is a game? Am I a plaything to you? You think I'm a clown? You think I'm here for your amusement? No, I'm just messing with you. Anyhow, hot and cold behavior. Everybody hates this, okay? One day, they're super flirty and attentive. The next day, they're distant, or you can't even see them anywhere. Now, here's the caveat in this. Sometimes it's not that they're being hot and cold, because maybe they're always checking for you, and they've noticed you never checking for them. So maybe they stand off a little bit. Maybe they push back a little bit. Just not push back. They pull back. They pull out. Pull out. That sounds weird. They just kind of let you be. How do you like life without me? And well, if you're not checking on them, you can't really say that they've become cold, right? Maybe they've been really actually busy, right? The next day, maybe they're, one day they're flirty, next day they're cold. They're flirting with someone else, maybe. Consistency, as we said, implies sincerity though. But inconsistency, those mixed signals can mean they're just playing around, If you feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster, yesterday we talked for hours, today we barely said hello, it could be a sign that either they're not sure what they want from you or with you, or they enjoy flirtation only up to a point, or maybe at certain times of the month. Who knows? Just saying. All play, no depths. Pay attention to whether your interactions, no matter how fun, if everything just stays surface level, if it's always a joke and flirty, but they dodge or deflect whenever things get a bit personal or serious, they might just be messing with you, right? Not everyone who flirts wants something serious. Sometimes it's just a validation, just to pass the time. Or for instance, if you try to share something meaningful and they quickly turn it into a joke or change the topic, they might not be looking for a deeper connection right now. And we know how this goes, right? Like if you can just go from joking to a serious conversation, like quick, fast, in a hurry, and you're talking to them, and for some reason you can feel that they're really invested in what what you're saying to them or what you're communicating to them, then that's probably a good sign. But if it's something where, let's say you're an artist and you're showing them your painting that, it took you 5 days or 5 weeks or whatever it is, and they just quickly glance over it and move on, or, you show them something else you did or some important work that you put your heart and soul into, and they don't have any time, or maybe they really don't have time, but they get back to it and they get back to you. That's different. But be careful when people just brush over your stuff and don't care about, because the things we do generally make up who we are, right? If you skate all the time, guess what? You're a skater. It's just that simple. Maybe you sing all the time, then maybe you're a singer. You might not get paid for it, but that's part of, a big part of you. And if they don't have time for a big part of you, then guess what? They ain't gonna have time for you, even down the road. Just saying. You might save yourself some time. All right. Gut feelings, playing, or let's see, gut feeling of game, whatever. People sometimes are just playing. Anyhow, sometimes you can just feel it. The nagging intuition that says, something's off. I feel like I'm being strung along. If your gut is telling you that this person is enjoying your attention but isn't really interested in you, listen, right? Listen to that gut. You never know. Unspoken chemistry should feel exciting, but also positive and reassuring. If it's making you feel anxious, then, more anxious than happy, then that's a clue in itself. Now, remember, sometimes there's certain stuff that just go on in our own head, and we're the only person that's been invited to that party. So just be careful before you judge people for your own stuff. Check this one out. Once I had a friend, let's call her Nina, who was a master of this blurred line. Unintentionally, of course. She's just very gregarious and friendly. She had this guy, let's call him Matt, in her circle who she consistently flirted with. Playful jokes, playful punching of his arm, or over-the-top compliments like, "Oh my gosh, you're the best person ever." Even semi-suggestive, joking or whatever it is, or maybe even sending him some texts, and, we're over here reading the text, trying to read between the lines, like, what's happening here for this dude? Matt was convinced anyway that Nina secretly liked him as more than a friend. I was like, I don't know, buddy. Anyway, because, I guess he felt like that anyway. I guess it kind of looked like that, but Nina would also flirt with other people, right? And then Matt's like, you know what? Let me just chill out a little bit. She's kind of joking with Mike the same way she's messing with me, and talking to John the same way, or her deep, or whatever it is. So he kind of pulls back, right? He's like, wait, this can't work. And then he pulled back, and then guess what? Nina noticed that he kind of wasn't around, and she realized that she missed his presence. And for some reason, she found out that his presence daily um, was a part of her day that she really looked forward to because it was really fun, exhilarating, and happy happy time for her. Till what ended up happening was she started to seek him out because it's like he found other things to do. Anyhow, they became closer friends and later on started dating. Now, I'm not saying there should be this push pull dynamic or somebody should purposely do that, but yeah, why are you going to give your time to someone who tends to be flirting with every single person, right? Then you're not really special. And, we all want to we all want to be special to someone, right? At some point. All right. They say, let's see, reading social cues and emotional signals, right? They say communication is 93% nonverbal. Of course, the exact stat, obviously, it varies, and I'm just saying. But you get the idea. A lot of communication is beyond words. In the unspoken game of, is there something between us? Social cues and emotional signals are everywhere. To understand what really goes on with you, or what's going on with you two, you've got to read between the lines. And by the lines, I mean body language, tone of voice, timing, and all of those little subtle signs. Let's break it down for y'all. Eye contact and smile. The classic telltale sign. Are they holding eye contact just a little bit longer than normal? Do their eyes light up when you walk into a room and they're in there already? And what about you? Do you find yourself, gazing at this person a little bit longer? Or maybe you have a big grin that you don't usually have. You can feel it in your cheeks, Maybe there's I don't know, just a warm, genuine smile that you get from this person that you've seen them talk to other people and you never see that smile. Or maybe it's just you and you. Their smile for you seems to be that thing, whatever it is. If every time you crack a joke, they're beaming, or if you catch them glancing at you when you didn't think they were looking, or vice versa, that's a major social cue that there is some unspoken spark. And trust me, you'll be able to feel it like right in your chest. Mostly, or maybe you'll get flushed in the face. Depends on the person, I guess, right? Body language and touch. We touched on light touches earlier a little bit, but even without touch, body language speaks volume. If they angle their body towards you, even in a group of people, leaning in when you speak, or subtly mirroring your movements. You're sitting there, maybe you're both sitting at a table and you put your hand on your jaw, and then within about 5 seconds or less, they put their hand on their jaw. Maybe then you sit back. I told you about a situation like that in another episode. Of course, it was just me and a guy, but he was trying to, I guess, subconsciously, he was just mirroring me to let me know that he liked what I was saying and he liked my style of whatever it is. And, sometimes you get jobs that way, or whatever it is, or different opportunities. Anyway, it shows engagement. That's what mirroring does. When someone unconsciously copies your posture or your gestures, it's, a known sign of rapport and attraction. Also, or it could be one or the other too, of course. Also, notice their energy when they're with you. Are they more animated, fidgety, or perhaps nervously smoothing out their hair or their clothes? These can also be signals that you have an effect on them. And, you're not only making them nervous, but they like you, right? And check your own body language because you might be letting off all kinds of signals too. Playing with your hair, adjusting your shirt, your tie or something. Because you're drawn to them. Maybe you'll lean in close when they're talking or bump into them all of a sudden. And you don't usually bump into people. You're pretty good about your, spatial awareness and all that stuff. Tone of voice. Pay attention to how they talk to you. Maybe their voice goes higher or nicer. Maybe his voice goes lower because he's trying to, Mac Daddy. No, he's just trying to be cool. But it tends to happen. Girls tend to, their voices tend to go nice and lighter, and guys tend to be, I know what you're saying, kind of gravelly, whatever, cavemanish. I don't know what that is. Guy might drop his voice to a lower octave for whatever reason. He might not even know he did it. It might be funny to people around though. Frequency and timing of interactions. Social cues aren't just in person. Consider their communication habits. Do they respond to your text relatively quick? Like if they were sitting there with it open, waiting, like if they're at a race or something? Do they initiate conversations or calls? When something noteworthy happens in their day, are you one of the first people they want to tell? The frequency and urgency with which someone reaches out can signal how important you are, the depth charge. For example, if you mention you have a doctor's appointment, do they remember the day after and say, hey, how'd that doctor's appointment go? How are you feeling? Is everything good? Right? It's the person who has care for you. Now, it could be just a genuine friend, and this person could just be a caring person. I mean, there's some people who care more than others. There's some people who give more than others. There's little quirks about all of us that sometimes set other people off in the wrong directions. And that's just people, right? There's nothing that's going to happen every time with everybody. So you just have to really pay attention to the actual signals. Comfort and nervous energy. Sometimes attraction can show up as nervousness. Right, here's a real tricky one. Maybe the usual confident, articulate person stumbles over their words, when they're around you, or blushes easily. Those are endearing cues of attraction. They care about how they come across to you, so they can come off as uneasy to you. Like, what's wrong with this person? On the flip side, there's also a sense of comfort that develops as two people grow closer. So a lot of that stuff will slough off at some point, most likely. Usually. And there's also nervous energy when you have the silence, those awkward pauses, and maybe you're just working, but for some reason you can just stay there working side by side, very, very, very closely, getting the job done. And for some reason, this energy, that space between you feels good and comfortable. There's something emotionally happening, obviously. Those are subtle cues that you guys are syncing up on a different level. Now, being emotionally aware is just as important as reading the other person. This means being in tune with your own feelings and intuitions during these interactions. I need to slow down. And listen, you can always speed up the podcast. I need to just chill out a bit. I'm like talking so fast. It's not even normal. I don't even feel like myself here. I don't know why. I think it's because I got so much reading to do. But good thing is we're almost done. Okay. If every time you hang out with them, you leave with a gut feeling that something is definitely happening here, pay attention to that. Our instincts pick up micro cues and vibe shifts that our conscious mind might not immediately label. It's like there's a look, there's a smile, there's a laugh, there's a giddiness. When they come around, there's an excitement. Maybe the person will have something extra long to talk about because you tend to be here and be there and be everywhere. So they want to get a little bit of your time in any way, shape, or form, whether they have to call you a name or make fun of you or push you or try to get you to fix something just so you're more in their presence a little bit longer. It's funny what people do. There's that famous idea of chemistry. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but you sure as heck can feel it. Emotional awareness also means being honest with yourself. Are you feeling genuinely happy and respected in this unspoken dance, or anxious and confused? Your emotional responses are signals too, guiding you on whether this connection is healthy and whether or not it's mutual. Sometimes it's, we're loco in la cabeza, but generally, our nerves, our feelings can tell us a lot of what's really happening, even if we don't know in our conscious mind. Okay, a quick caution. Reading social cues isn't foolproof. So please know this. People have different comfort levels and personality quirks, as I was saying earlier. For instance, someone could be naturally touchy-feely with everyone, or another person could be shy and avoid eye contact altogether, especially when they like you. Or maybe, as I said before, you say something really important, or maybe you're calling them out on their stuff, and all of a sudden they disappear. And they might adore you, but they didn't want to give off that they like you too much. They take off out of your presence so they can go and hide. There's people who do that too. So context does matter. Look for clusters of cues rather than any signal, any single signal. There's some people who they're supposed to go and do something else, but they're stuck, and they literally get stuck and they look stuck. That's a funny one. One sign alone might not be everything, because some people just behave a certain way with everyone, and it might be one of your they touched my arm. Okay, that means we're dating now. It's not that close and not that easy, buddy. But several signs together, yeah, something might be going on there. They hold eye contact a little bit longer. They lean in, maybe together. They remember details. They seek your company. They want to hang out with you. They want to talk to you. They want to text you. They want to whatever, right? It paints a way better, prettier picture when you can actually see a few things happening at the same time. But if you just, go for one off, like, the person slapped me in the back of the head and called me a clown, well, maybe you are a clown, and that's the reason why they slapped you in the back of the head, and it's not because there's some kind of cuteness going on here. So remember, sorry, I have a grape in my mouth. Do not take these signals as one-offs, as everything is copacetic with y'all. There may be nothing happening. So look for clusters rather than single little things, little tells. Okay? Just want to make sure. I don't want anybody blaming me for anything. I'm a matter of fact, don't blame me for anything. Regardless. Told you for entertainment purposes only, right? All right. Safeguard myself. All right. We'll be sending me some weird comments. If you're unsure, one strategy is to gently amplify a cue. You get that? If you're unsure, one strategy is to gently amplify a cue and see what happens. For example, just in the interest of science, hold eye contact just a little bit longer and smile. Do they smile back and hold your gaze too? Or lightly touch their arm or your arm during a joke? Maybe they silently laugh really loud and everybody else is looking at them like they're crazy, and they're everybody you never know. Do they seem to welcome it or shy away? You're basically, or effectively, sending out a signal, and see if they reciprocate it or they're receiving the message without you saying anything. This kind of conscious cue, cue reading, is part of the unspoken game, remember. It's a dance. I signal, you signal. We interpret. Okay, so try that one. Hold their gaze just a little bit longer. Give them that smile, that beautiful smile that you have. Okay, maybe you don't have a beautiful smile, but maybe they think your smile is beautiful. Sorry, guys. I don't know why I bought, grapes with seeds in them. Come on, man, life happens. We've been sitting here for an hour almost. Give me a break. All right. As you become more fluent in this subtle language between each other, you're better equipped to tell if what you're feeling with someone, and I mean just in general, I guess not only with that person, but just in general. Once you become more fluent in these subtle subtle, what do you want to call it? Silent languages of flirtation or attraction, to find out if a person's, the feeling is mutual, the unspoken chemistry, or if perhaps signals are getting crossed. You want to know the difference, right? Speaking of chemistry, what about those situations where chemistry is practically tangible? Like the air is thick. Maybe your heart is like literally pounding when they're in your presence. And you're like, what the heck? Have you ever had that? Think about it. Have you ever been in somebody's presence? And I'm not talking about you went to Prince's concert and and you fell over or something back in the day, or you saw Drake when somebody actually cared. But anyway, I'm just saying. Just think about it in your mind's eye. Have you had those situations where your heart felt like it was like this, just beating out of your chest, and you didn't know why, but you knew you were attracted to the person? And it, as I said before, is tangible. Yet still nothing is said outright. Let's dig into that exhilarating and a little frustrating phenomenon next. Okay, so this is the last of everything, guys. There we go. Let's bring it home. I hope you're liking this episode, yo. I've been trying to step up my game since I hit 200. But the thing is, all this preparation kind of, it takes away from my natural personality a little bit. All this reading, just due to the fact that I'm just not good at reading for people. I mean, I don't even read books to kids. Like, it's just not my thing. Like, of course, to my little ones I did, but if there's a group of kids, it's like because I never think I get the expressions right, and I get focused on either the expression or the words, and then something suffers. So that's why I don't do it that often. Anyhow, sometimes the vibe between two people is so strong that everyone around you notices, it too. What's that song? When I'm with you. What is it? Mm-hmm. People just stop and stare and smile at us when I'm with you. I don't know what that song is, but you know what I mean. That thing where people just stop and stare. It's like, what's going on over here? People around you, your social circles, maybe people seeing you from a distance, And then one of you start, maybe being a little bit scarce because people can notice you. Almost like you get this feeling that people can feel what you're up to. Your friends smirk when you talk about or with this person. Strangers assume you're a couple and you're out somewhere when you're just out together because of, whatever, you're just interacting. And it's just basically because of the way you're interacting why people just assume that that's your girlfriend, that's your wife or whatever, or vice versa. You both sense all that tension. Not a bad tension, an electric one. This unspoken chemistry at its finest. This is unspoken chemistry at its finest. See, I want to read it like that. But if it's so obvious, why is it still unspoken? And how do you confirm if it is real? You ever get into the nuts and bolts of everything, guys? Unspoken chemistry is that almost magic or that almost magical click. You just click with this person on multiple levels. Conversation flows effortlessly, or silence feels golden and you just kind of want to snuggle up closer to the person. Maybe you're just riding the bus. Nothing has to be said. And you're fine if that bus ride takes 2 hours. There's mutual respect, admiration, and yes, attraction. Often people describe it as we just vibe. Or there was, an instant connection when you haven't, wait, let's see. Hold on, sorry. When you have it, basically. But the trick is you both have to feel it for it to be real. It sucks when you're the only one that feels the vibe. And that's the scary part of this whole thing. Is when you're vibing on somebody, you might just be vibing on them, right? Like they might not be where you are. That sucks. Otherwise, just a one-sided infatuation. And the crappy thing I don't want to say that, but like, there's no other way to say it. The crappy thing about if infatuation is it feels a lot like that chemistry, except it's only one-sided. So, assuming that it's mutual, right? Why might neither of you voice it? Obviously, the obvious reason is that it could be taken, or maybe you're taken. Then let it be spoken. Let it stay unspoken and get the heck out of there, man. There are a lot of reasons why. Maybe you're both a little bit too shy, or maybe you're both afraid of rejection. That's classic. Or perhaps the timing isn't right. Maybe one or both of you, as I said earlier, are with someone else. Or maybe you're just working together and you're just, a little bit strange there, which complicates things, of course. It could also be that you value the friendship as it is, you don't want to lose that and you don't want to label anything. So it's just there. And making a move could risk everything, especially again, if the person isn't into you as much as you're into them. Some people, also think surely they would have said something if they felt something or felt the same way I did, right? Forgetting that the other person might be thinking the exact same thing. That's why they haven't asked you for your phone number or your Instagram. So you end up in a standoff of silence like idiots. And then somebody else has to tell you both. Nobody wants to tip their hand too soon because you don't want to seem like the person who gave out and gave everything too quickly. Now, if you're listening and relating hard right now, you might be asking, how do I know if what I feel is real or just my imagination running away with me? Oh, it was just no, just joking. Here are a few thoughts on validating that unspoken chemistry. Sorry, guys, I got one more grape. We're at an hour now. We're bringing it into the close. Okay. Outside observations. Sweet. The one interesting indicator is feedback from others. What's going on with you guys? If multiple friends independently tell you, wow, you and that person have a great chemistry, or they assume you're already dating or doing something else, that's a sign the connection is probably palatable. That means that it's going both ways. And that's the easiest way. Like, please, friends, help us. Sometimes our friends pick up on dynamics that we're too inside and we can't see it, even though they can see it clearly. But we're too close to the situation that maybe we don't even know how bad it looks or how good it looks, depending on how you look at it, right? Consistency over time. Real chemistry tends to sustain itself over multiple encounters, right? So it won't be like it was cool today and next month there's nothing, and then in February there's something around Valentine's Day, and then there's nothing through the whole of March through what do you call it, St. Patrick's Day. No. Pretty much every time you see this person, you're going to vibe something. Maybe not every single time. You might not even talk, but you'll still feel it when you're in their presence. You'll still want to look, or you'll still want to gaze or look into their eyes or whatever it is, right? If you only feel sparks in one specific scenario, say only when you've had a couple of drinks at a party or whatever it is, hopefully you're not drinking, but if you do, then that's not a good sign. But not day to day, then it might be just situational, right? But if every time you hang out, more than 3 seconds or 3 minutes, whether you're tired, stressed, or in a group of, or one-on-one, morning, nights, or whatever it is, there's some kind of underlying spark. It's likely real. And it generally stands the test of time, environments, and moods. Next, emotional fulfillment. Isn't that special? Does this connection actually uplift you? And make you feel more confident, more happy, more understood? Real chemistry isn't just about butterflies. Oh, you give me butterflies. And that was really bad. Don't sing with a grape in your mouth, by the way. You can do Michael Jackson on the best of their days. That was horrible. I should cut that out. No, I'm not cutting it out. All right. It often comes with a sense of emotional fulfillment. You feel, it's funny. You feel seen and appreciated in their presence. If what you feel is one-sided or just a game, often you'll feel a bit insecure and question yourself more like, am I crazy? True chemistry has a strangely reassuring quality. Even in the uncertainty, deep down it feels positive, it's not draining, and it feels right. Maybe the person's not even your type, as I was laughing earlier about. Like, maybe this isn't your type. You don't like fat guys, or you don't like big women, or you don't like women who are over 6 feet, or women under 4, no, not 4 feet, under 5 feet. Well, who knows, all right? The person could technically be it. Sorry about that. You know what I mean? Like, just the person's not usually your type. Maybe they read a lot, you know? Maybe they're a jock and you like more learned people, like, or maybe you like philosophy and their type of evening in is like Three Stooges or something like that. But for some reason, kind of like if you've ever watched the show Office and that Michael and Jan thing, total opposites. But for whatever reason, you know, actions align with feelings. In unspoken mutual attractions, even if words haven't been said, usually the actions are speaking louder and clearer than most. They show up for you when it counts. They're reliable. They treat you, a bit different in a good way than others. And you both may even have started to integrate into each other's lives without anybody else knowing. Maybe you meet each other as friends. Maybe you do regular activities together. Maybe you go to the gym together, If you're saying these, actions, maybe you're not crazy. And I'm not telling you that a gym buddy is your your long lost love or anything. I'm just saying maybe that's something that you two do together. You don't do it with anybody else, but just this one person. And not because they can spot your bench press. If you're seeing these actions, you're not crazy. There's something there. If the actions are lacking, e.g., they flirt but never follow through on plans, or they act caring but then disappear when you truly need them, the chemistry might be superficial, one-sided, and I feel bad for you, but it is what it is. It happens. Now, what do you do about it? This is the tough part of the unspoken game. You have a choice. Keep playing the game in silent mutual attraction mode, or take a risk to clarify it. There's no right or wrong answer really here. Every situation and person is different. And if you've never really ever said anything, and maybe they have, and you kind of just stay quiet and let them dictate everything, because, I'm a woman and a woman never reveals her obsessions or whatever. Well, good luck in this day and age, because you might be out of luck, and there's many fish in the sea, and you just might be on your own boat in the sunshine. Think about it. Okay. Sometimes riding the unspoken chemistry wave without defining it can be okay for a while. It's exciting. It builds strong foundation of friendship and trust, but there usually comes a point where the ambiguity starts to become unsustainable. Feelings grow, and with growth comes the possibility of hurt if it remains unacknowledged. Many rom-com movies have hinged this very thing on their success. Hinged? Yeah. Yes. I didn't say it right. Many rom-com movies have hinged on this very moment, right? Will they? Won't they? Will they talk? Will they not talk? Will they be together? Again, Office again with what's his name? Pam and what the heck's his name? It's gonna bug me. Jim. Pam and Jim. Like, will they get together? Won't they not get together? Then one was dating, one's not dating. One's engaged, the other one's dating. Then one breaks up, but they don't want to be with that one at that time, and blah 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 blah. It goes back and forth, right? Those rom-coms, people love rom-coms because of that. That energy. Maybe it's gonna happen now, right? In real life, someone eventually has to make the first move, right? Or start an honest conversation, at least, to see if you're on the same page or if it even makes sense going forward. Maybe you have to leave it where it is for whatever reason. It could be a small move, like testing a slight more obvious sign of affection, maybe holding their hand during a vulnerable moment. Maybe they're sad. Maybe somebody just passed. Those probably not the best times, but you're gonna have to figure that one out for yourself. All right. Or a direct but gentle conversation like, I really value what we have here. Not sure what it is, but I really value it. I like you a lot, or something. Have you ever felt it could be something more between us, maybe you could say? Oh my goodness. All right, that didn't work. My big kid came in here and started cracking up. Something was happening, but I can't tell you about it. Anyhow, let me start this over. In real life, someone eventually has to make a move or start an honest conversation to see if you're on the same page. It could be a small move like testing a slightly more obvious sign of affection, maybe holding their hand during a vulnerable time, or a direct but gentle conversation like, I really value what we have. Have you ever felt it could be something more? You'd be surprised when the chemistry is truly mutual. Often the other person is relieved you brought it up because they've been agonizing over it for a long time as well. So they're almost like a thank you for bringing it up. Of course, there's the risk, you misread something. And at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? What if you lay it out there and they say, oh, I didn't think of you in that way. Oh, it can happen, and then things become awkward after, that fear keeps the game going, on for a lot longer than it needs to. In many cases, that's how it is. This is where you have to weigh what's worse, the regret of possibly never knowing or never doing anything about it versus the temporary sting of rejection or embarrassment. Personally, I've had it go both ways, but not very often, of course. Sometimes you got to define the relationship, y'all. It is terrifying, they say. Everything could blow up in your face. It's possible. But if it's not going to blow up in your face, then everything can turn into one amazing romance. Maybe marriage down the line. Maybe a life of love. Who knows, right? In both cases, I felt some relief just finally knowing one way or the other. Reality check. Unspoken chemistry doesn't always, lead to a fairy tale ending, of course. Sometimes people with incredible chemistry still don't end up together, perhaps due to life circumstances or timing, but that doesn't invalidate the connection that was there. It just means life is complex. However, more often than not, if two people genuinely have that something there and both are aware of it, it will eventually push them towards something. And, crossroads will probably meet, So, sometimes you need to acknowledge it. So if you're wondering right now about your own situation, whether you're, imagining it or maybe it's real. Take stock of the cues, the consistency, the feelings, and maybe muster a little bit of courage. I mean, if people are always approaching you, maybe it's your turn to approach someone else. You know, maybe this person doesn't have that many suitors and you do, and it wouldn't really tear a stripe out of you too much to say something. Who knows? The whole theme of this episode is that so much of human connection is unspoken. But unspoken doesn't mean it's unknown or unfelt. We know a lot with words, of course, and we know a lot sometimes without words, if we pay attention, that is. And when you've gathered enough of those unspoken clues, sometimes you have enough evidence to take the next step confidently. At the end of the day, the realest connections thrive on communication. The unspoken game is exhilarating, but it's not meant to stay that way forever. It's like the opening a chapter book. Eventually, you want to start chapter 2, right? Where things get really interesting. You got to open that book and start reading. Anyhow, let's wrap this up, y'all. So, there we have it. The unspoken game laid out in all of its subtle, confusing, exciting glory. We've looked at how two people can sense a spark without words, from those first little tests of flirty exchanges to conversations that suddenly get deeper, and deciphering whether it's just playful, or whatever it is, flirty thing, or if it's profound, and finally that almost magical chemistry that everyone else can sense is actually, something that's going to become real between you two. If you've been sitting there thinking of a certain someone this whole time, well, that says a lot, doesn't it? Wink, wink, as they say. The big takeaway is this: trust the patterns, not just the one-off moments. One meaningful glance can be a fluke. Maybe you were someone else. Maybe they wear glasses and they thought you were their husband or their wife. I don't know. But consistent eye contact, genuine laughter, remembering the small details, those paint a great picture. If you feel in your gut that something real is going on, it's worth exploring. And if you're still unsure, you know how to, the toolkit, at least. Hopefully you've learned something here, right? Although it is for entertainment purposes only. The unspoken game is something almost all of us play at some time in our life. But eventually, as I said before, somebody has to call a play and see what's up. Anyhow, till next time, y'all, take care. And remember, you can sub wherever you can sub, or you can comment, you can like. I literally only have a couple likes on Apple. I don't know what the deal is, but hey, man, you know what to do. Anyhow, take care till next time. This is MCM signing off. This is the podcast called You're Probably Right. Take care. Peace out. Oh yeah, before I go, remember, if you have any questions you want to ask, or maybe you have a topic that you want me to talk about, you can email me at yprpodcast@gmail.com. Take care. Hey, come check out You Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 dogs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully, the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.